In today's globalized world, speaking more than one language has never been more valuable. Whether it's English, Mandarin, Spanish, German, or French, to just name a few, languages open doors to travel, work, and connections. If you ever tried learning a foreign language, there's a chance that you struggled and wonder what could be done to improve your skills and proficiency. There are many factors involved in language learning, and there is still a lot of research to be done on this topic. The truth is, we still don't know everything there is to know about this subject, but science has taught us many things regarding language learning and language education over the years. Today, we'll be uncovering some of the science behind language learning and the factors that can affect it. It's likely not a surprise to you, but you can find many resources related to language learning. From the classic language classes you had to attend at school to language apps, it seems that there are many ways to learn a new language. With computers and smartphones, there are now thousands of resources at the end of our fingertips. A quick Google search will show pages and pages of various ways to learn a new language, improve your skills, find new resources, etc. There is just so much that it can easily become overwhelming. Where do you even start if you want to learn a new language? How does one truly become bilingual? Access to resources is one of the biggest factors in language learning today, but that wasn't always the case. Language education is basically how we teach and learn second languages. It is at the core of foreign language acquisition and has been changing for centuries. In the Western world, the grammar translation approach was used from the 16th century to the 19th century. Students focused heavily on written text, translating sentences, and memorizing grammar rules. At the beginning of the 20th century, this shifted toward what's called the audiolingual method. Learners listened to recordings and repeated them over and over, with a strong focus on pronunciation and speaking. In the recent decades, the communicative approach has been used more and more. It consists of communicating directly in the target language and includes grammar aspects as well as social aspects, like simulating social situations in the language, for example, in order to give students real-world opportunities to use the language. These three examples are not the only methods in second language learning, and there are actually plenty more that were used, but they give you an idea of how language teaching has changed over the years. With these methods being mainly classroom methods, it may seem that language policies and education in different countries might differ and impact the skills of students. Some countries seem to be better than others at language education too. It can then be easy to question the role and impact of language policies in regards to language learning. Take Scandinavian countries or Germany. They had the reputation of being bilingual, the official language of the country, and English. Is it that their language education is better than countries where levels of bilingualism is low? The truth is, this vision presents a level of bias. While this is true that some countries seem to be better at teaching a language, like the examples mentioned earlier, it is not the only factor that can tell us about language learning. Around the world, multilingualism is actually very common, including in places where formal language education may be limited. In many communities, people grow up using multiple languages simply because of daily life, family, work environment, or other social environments. That suggests something important. Schools matter, but they are not the whole story when it comes to learning languages. By the way, if you like linguistics and languages, you can subscribe to this channel. I frequently upload videos on these topics. Age can be a huge factor when it comes to learning a new language. One important notion to illustrate this is the critical period hypothesis. In language acquisition, the concept of critical period refers to a window of time where language acquisition can be achieved. This window of time is from being an infant to age between 7 or 9. Sometimes teenage years, according to some researchers. Someone who's never exposed to a language during this period is likely not able to properly learn the language at all. This concept usually refers to first language acquisition, with the infamous example of Jeannie. Jeannie is the pseudonym of an American child born in 1957. She got abused by her father and did not get exposed to any language until the age of 13, when she was retrieved by child welfare authorities. Because she did not get this early exposition to language, she never fully acquired a first language. While this critical period hypothesis remains a hypothesis and is still widely discussed, it has been extended to second language acquisition. The linguist David Singleton stated that in learning a second language, the younger someone is, the easier it is. However, he also mentioned that there are many exceptions to that, and there are many cases of people who learned and mastered a second language well into their adulthood. The concept of critical period for second language learning is also criticized and debated, but you should not let that discourage you for learning a new language even if you're an adult, because there's another factor that can be a catalyst in second language learning: motivation. Motivation is a primary driver in learning a new language. High motivation can lead to a higher proficiency. On the other hand, anxiety and lack of self-confidence can impact negatively the learning. Someone with low anxiety is more willing to take risks, which can lead to improvements, while someone who's scared of asking questions or to speak with others in a different language may fall behind in their language learning journey. Motivation also allows you to be more involved in your language learning journey and putting more efforts towards your language goals. Language exposure also affects your language learning journey. The more exposed to a language you are, well, the more you can learn about it. It sounds obvious, but it can easily be forgotten. While some language apps claim you can learn a language with only 5 minutes a day, and it for sure sounds attractive, the reality is different, and learning a language requires a lot more exposure. It doesn't have to be speaking with people, but can take other forms such as listening to podcasts, watching movies in the target language, without subtitles in the same language, or even simply in a language you already know. It can also be the frequency of attendance to language classes. The more you do in the target language, the more you learn about it. The more you use it, whether by listening, reading, writing, or speaking, the better your skills will be. This leads us to talk about learning strategies. There are many different learning strategies out here to help you acquire another language, but it does not mean they all work for you. This is an unfortunate truth that may sound discouraging, but learning a language sometimes comes with a trial and error phase of testing different strategies and see what works the best. Maybe going to a 3-hour-long lecture about grammar is not the best for you, but it could be the best for someone else. Here's my personal advice. Incorporate the target language in an activity you like. If you don't like watching movies, don't force yourself to watch movies just to get exposure. Find something else. Reading a book, listening to a podcast, play a video game you already know but in the target language, and even with your choice of subtitles. Anything that mixes what you like with the language. And if you are just beginning to learn a new language and have almost no knowledge of it, start simple and gradually increase step by step. 5 minutes of an activity in a language with the translated version will help you a lot. This may require a bit of formal lessons, but this also can take the shape of a format you like. Going to a language class, finding a website or YouTube video explaining things for beginners, etc. Finally, another factor that you don't see being mentioned often when it comes to language learning is your language background. Your pre-existing knowledge of other languages can be a determining factor in how you will learn another language. What you may have heard before is that the more languages you know, the easier it is to learn a new one. This is because your brain gets used to learning a new language, but is also getting used to being exposed to different linguistic characteristics in other languages, making it easier to learn similar ones or even new ones. Your brain is more likely to connect the dots about why a specific feature of a language is the way it is if you have been exposed to it, or if you have been exposed to different logics that you can translate into this new feature. Additionally, the language you know may help you learning a new language if they belong to the same language family. It will likely be much easier to learn a Romance language if you already know one, as a lot of linguistic features are shared between them. Same for the vocabulary, sometimes even the pronunciation. The same works for Germanic languages or any other language families. And this is also part of the reason why Scandinavian people, Germans, or people from the Netherlands tend to have a strong English level. There are a lot of linguistic features that are overlapping, making learning in the language a bit easier than someone who speaks a language from a different language family. It doesn't mean that it's always the case, but it does help many people. Learning a foreign language can be a challenging task for many of us, but it's not impossible. There are many factors that come into play, and research on this topic improves every day. Understanding some of these factors can be a game changer in understanding how second language acquisition works and how it can work on an individual basis. Everyone is different when it comes to language learning, and as such, there is no one way to learn a new language. There is no true solution that works 100% of the time with everyone, and anyone telling you otherwise is likely lying to you. Acknowledging that, and the fact that many components come into play in language learning, is an important step that may help you make progress and learn a new language.